Imagine being so rich, so powerful, and so scandalous that you make kings tremble, popes frown, and knights fall at your feet. Well, meet Eleanor of Aquitaine, the medieval queen who did it all. She ruled not one, but two of the most powerful kingdoms in Europe, defied two husbands, led a crusade, rebelled against a king, and outlived almost everyone who tried to control her. And through it all, Eleanor played by one rule only, her own. So, how did a medieval woman rise above everyone, shake up Europe, and redefine what it meant to be a queen? Subscribe and let's dive into the scandalous, rebellious, and jaw-dropping life of Eleanor of Aquitaine. Our story begins in 1122, when Eleanor was born into one of the wealthiest families in Europe. She wasn't just some noblewoman. She was the Duchess of Aquitaine, ruling over lands larger than the Kingdom of France itself. And when her father died in 1137, 15-year-old Eleanor suddenly became the most eligible bachelorette in Europe. Her first husband? King Louis VII of France. But the two had very different personalities. Eleanor thrived in the lively world of courtly affairs, while Louis was more inclined toward a quiet, spiritual life. Eleanor was spirited, ambitious, and deeply engaged in the cultural and political life of the court. Louis, on the other hand, was more reserved and devout, leading to a union that struggled to find common ground. But then, plot twist, the Pope calls for the Second Crusade. And Eleanor? She's like, pack my armor, we're going to war. That's right. Eleanor didn't just sit in a castle. She rode into battle with thousands of knights. And let's be honest, she was probably way better at strategy than her husband. But the crusade was a disaster. And when they got back to France, Eleanor was so done with Louis. And in 1152, she got a divorce. But just 8 weeks later, Eleanor married the fiery, young, and ambitious Henry of Anjou, the future King Henry II of England. Now married to Henry II, Eleanor became Queen of England, ruling over a kingdom stretching from England to half of France. But here's where things get juicy. Henry and Eleanor had a dozen children, including Richard the Lionheart and the infamous King John. At first, Eleanor and Henry were the ultimate power couple. But Henry, well, let's just say he had a problem with staying faithful. And Eleanor, she wasn't about to let any man, not even the king, walk all over her. In 1173, Eleanor did the unthinkable. She led a rebellion against her own husband. And guess what? Henry was not amused. He locked Eleanor in prison for the next 16 years. But Eleanor wasn't done yet. When Henry finally died in 1189, her son, Richard the Lionheart, became king. And his first move, releasing his mother from prison. Even in her late 60s, Eleanor was still running the show. While Richard was off fighting in the Crusades, she ruled England in his place. And when Richard died, Eleanor made sure her youngest son, John, took the throne. Eleanor of Aquitaine lived to be 82, which for medieval times is basically ancient. She was a queen, warrior, diplomat, and political mastermind. Without her, Europe would have looked completely different. Her legacy? She redefined what it meant to be a queen. Eleanor was a ruler, a fighter, and an absolute icon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more insane stories.